I'm not being very green tonight, but in a sense I am. A little background about me. For 15 years I lived in, actually 18 years lived in Florida, but for 15 years of that time I actually worked on a parrot farm. Yes, there is a farm for parrots. And we had over 2,000 parrots there, so this is why I'm trying to give you a little educational thing about cockatoos. And let me put my glasses on because I'm reading mine. Go ahead. There are 21 species of cockatoos found within Australia, New Guinea, Indonesia, Philippines, and a few venturing into Tasmania. Within this species, there are about 44 or subspecies of birds in the cockatoo family. I have had the pleasure and privilege of working with 21 species. The greater sulfur-crested cockatoo is the most commonly recognized of the cockatoo family. When you say cockatoo, this is the bird that most often comes to mind. Thank you, Beretta. Please note the large sulfur crest. Please note the large sulfur crest with its forward curve. They are found on the eastern and southeastern parts of Australia and even into Tasmania. This is also a sulfur-crested cockatoo, but note the eye ring is blue. This is a Triton Cockatoo, medium in size. It's not found in Australia, but in New Guinea. I had one of these birds escape the aviary from me. It fell out of the tree that it was in because the branch broke. It flew down right at me. I snatched it out of the air, barehanded. True story. This is also a sulfur-crested cockatoo, but it's a lesser sulfur-crested cockatoo. Please note it's not all white, but has a great deal of coloration other than white on its body. There are 6 subspecies found not in Australia, but in Indonesia and some surrounding islands. This is actually a female sulfur-crested, or lesser. Okay, so what's with the white birds? Well, actually, we have moved a little to the left with this bird. It's a subspecies of the lesser, but it's changed color. This is a Citron crested cockatoo. Again, not found in Australia, but on one of the Indonesian islands. Isolated, it changed its color from yellow to citron or an orange color. Make sure I'm not passing off. Okay, another white bird. It's still white, but we have lost the large crest feathers, as this bird's crest looks more like a cap. This is a bare-eyed cockatoo, also known as a little corella. Please note the large blue patch around the eye, and it has salmon-colored feathers on its cheek and throat area. There are 2 subspecies. Another white bird. This is a slenderbill, also known as the long-billed corella. Could also be called a cutthroat. I wonder why. Kind of looks like the bear eye, but the beak, which is used for digging tubers and freshly planted seeds and sprouting plants on many farms in Australia. They're not very popular with the farmers there. Finally, something other than white. This large bird is a Moluccan, not found in Australia, but you guessed it, on the Moluccan Islands in Indonesia. The males tend to be larger than the females, but you can sex these guys by their eye color. The males have dark eyes and the females have a reddy brown color. This is true for most of the birds you've seen. They are known as sexually dimorphic, meaning the sexes are different, but they look different. The Moluccan is also known as the salmon-crested cockatoo. Please note that this crest is now curving backwards, unlike the sulfur-crested cockatoos. As beautiful as these birds are, they are critically endangered in the wild due to habitat loss. And we're catching up eventually. Look, it's not white, but it's pink. This is a rose-breasted cockatoo, but if you're in Australia, they're known as galahs. There are 3 different subspecies found all over Australia. With a wonderful pink chest, they have an equally wonderful gray back and wing feathers. I just love rose-breasteds. They're absolutely cute little bunnies. In the wild, they spend many hours in the morning and the afternoon wandering around on the ground looking for seeds with a waddling gait. During the heat of the day, they shelter high in the trees, which is where I found them when I was visiting Australia at Ayers Rock. I heard a noise in the tree above me, and knowing right away what it was, I looked up to see the tree loaded with rosies. I was so excited. Okay, this is the Major Mitchell's cockatoo, also known as the Leadbetter's cockatoo. It's found in the interior of Australia to the south and not to the north. Their natural environment is sparsely timbered grasslands or dry, arid areas. There are 2 subspecies found on either side of Australia. They're very, very loud. Don't own one. Now we leave the whites and the pinks and enter the grays. This is a pair of gangangs. Please note that they look different. The male has the red head, while the female is all gray with beautifully barred feathers in grayish white and yellows, oranges, and greens. This pair is mutually preening. The male gangang's crest feather is what distinguishes these birds from other cockatoos, as they are soft and filamentary feathers. The lower mandible is strongly curved with a groove or an indentation to help it split open eucalyptus, acacia, and casuarina berries. Yeah, very, very cute too. All right, come on. Now we hit the black cockatoos. This is a red-tailed black cockatoo. This group is very sexually dimorphic, as this is the female. Please note all the yellow dots on the ends of her body feathers and her crest feathers. There are 4 different subspecies within the red-tailed groups. I was reading, obviously, far too fast when I practiced. The females have bars in their tail colors, of which there are 3 females on this slide, and the males have a band of solid red. These feathers are highly sought after by Native Americans for their headdress decorations, with some going for hundreds of dollars. And I should be selling my collection because I've got quite a lot. Yellow-tailed black cockatoos are very rare outside of Australia, are not found, or should I say are found in a small handful of private collections. I have only ever seen one, and that bird was at Parrot Jungle in Miami. The owner of the facility I work for, he actually purchased Parrot Jungle, and we all joke that the reason he purchased it was for that bird. This is a white-tailed black cockatoo. Again, they are sexually dimorphic, with the main differences showing up again in their tail feathers. The males have a solid bar of white, while the females have bars breaking up the white color. The white and yellow are in the same genus of Calyptorhynchus. This actually is a male, because it's got a solid white bar. And we save the best for last. This is the palm cockatoo. There are 3 subspecies of this group, with this being a pair of a pteromus. Although the palms don't look sexually dimorphic, they actually are, based on their size. Males are much larger. I worked with 2 of the subspecies, the pteromus and the Goliath, which is the largest of the palms. Palms are the only parrots in the world to use a tool. The male palm will make a stick to his liking and will drum it on the side of his nest log to get attention from his mate and to lay claim to his nesting site. With loud screams and displaying wings, it's quite a sight to see and hear. I can't whistle. There's a really high-pitched whistle that they do. Please, no questions.
Any questions?
No questions. Thank you. No questions. Oh, damn it.
I was hoping, you said you can't whistle, but I was hoping you could let us know what, the general cockatoo call is like. What does it sound like?
Very loud.
Can you mimic one? I mean,
well, I could do the gang, which is very easy.
I hate to sound, nasty, but what's the point in the parrot farm?
What's the point in the parrot farm? It's actually protecting the animals in the wild. So it's domestically raised. Every bird that, if anyone buys a bird, please see me before you buy the bird. But every bird breeder out there is saving the birds in the wild. So if it's being domestically raised, the guys in the wild are still free to do what they do. The Moluccans, there's actually more Moluccans in captivity than there are actually in the wild. And actually, red-tails, there's gazillions of them in Australia, but you don't see very many of them outside of Australia. A lot of the cockatoos in Australia, you don't see very many of them outside of Australia unless it's come from a breeding farm. And we had thousands of birds, and it wasn't just cockatoos. We had cockatoos, macaws, amazons, conures, and a few other interesting domestic stuff. That's a question over there.
Do any of the subspecies breed amongst themselves?
Naturally, no. They would never be in the same vicinity. For instance, a medium and a lesser cockatoo are actually found on different islands. And I use those guys as a reference because I actually have a medium and a lesser paired together at home. My parents did it, and I was absolutely appalled when I came home to discover that there was a medium and lesser breeding. I'm like, no! They would never mate in the wild. Why do you have them that way? But thankfully, they only had a couple kids, and I was like, that's it, they're not having any more children. But no, naturally in the wild, they wouldn't meet. Now, the subspecies of rosies, they're more divided by, if you look at the map of rosies, they're all over Australia, so there's some distinctions with their colorations is what divides them separately. But like with the major Mitchells, they're actually on opposite sides, so those guys wouldn't meet.
Hi. I have two questions for you.
I have no idea where you are. Okay. Okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you now.
Sorry. First of all, do we know if there are any wild cockatoos running around here? Because I frequently see one flying around Bailey's Bay.
Yes, there is one down at Bailey's Bay. I believe it is an umbrella, but it could also, I'm pretty sure it's an umbrella by the sounds of it. Moluccans are pretty darn loud. But if and I stress this greatly, don't get a cockatoo as a pet unless you do lots of research, because they are very, very demanding birds. And the most important thing, it's going to outlive you.
Oh.
It will. They live 50, 60, 70, 80 years. So if you're buying a pet now and you're 30, you better have children that you're willing it to, because that like it. So like, if they don't like it, tough kids, you're taking the bird. It's in the will. Thanks, Penny.
Carla, what's the reason for the beautiful coxcombs that they've got, all those amazing
plumes?
markings? The plumes, yeah. That's it.
Or crest feathers. It would be asking, like, why are they green or blue? I mean, it's difficult to say, but only the in parrots, only in that part of the world do they have crests. If you look in Africa and South America, they don't have crest feathers, so who knows why they have crests? I mean, they just evolved that way. Their mate, yeah, but I mean, it's they evolved that way, so it's difficult to say that that's the reason why. It really is like saying, why are you green? I'm green because I look, here's a great example. A white bird in a tree, you don't notice it. You would think that a white bird would stand out in a tree, but believe me, they disappear into the tree. So perhaps that little bit of yellow or some other color is like, here I am. Actually, it was really fun when I used to hold them for the vets. And, you have them by their head, and you have little crest feathers, and you're going, what are you doing? And you put the crest up, and she's like, stop. So I'd be playing with the crest, and I'd be like, it's like, you're hurting me. So I was mean.
Are there any local breeders on the island?
Of cockatoos? I was breeding, but I'm not anymore. I don't know. There are people that breed Amazons and stuff, but Bermuda's a really, really small market, and I would not recommend that everybody breed, just because it's a very small market, and you could get stuck with hundreds of birds if you bred a lot. So, and then you find out your children are passed around. They took them with all the full knowledge of, yes, I'm going to take care of this bird for the rest of my life, and then you hear later on that it shifted off, and now you don't do that anymore. So, I'm done.
Thank you, Carla.